What is going on, guys? Y'all can tell by the video that we have another FenFab part to install. So today is the coolant reservoir, and this is going to get rid of this ugly plastic reservoir, and honestly it is slightly smaller. The car is cool. I have not driven it today, I have not started it today, so we're still going to start by just relieving the pressure in the coolant reservoir. You want to make sure there's no pressure built up or anything like that, because we're going to be popping some lines off. All right, we're good. Nothing. Y'all can see I did put the cover plate on. That video will either be released before this or after this, I don't know. So if this video gets released before it, just know I do have a video for it. Super simple install, 2 bolts. Really nothing special to that one. But yeah, this one's gonna be a little bit more complicated, but not really complicated. We do have the part in there. I'll go grab it and show y'all what we have to go up against today. So here it is in all its glory. I just got the black kind of matched OEM. I didn't want anything crazy. However, I did get the billet cap in just the raw color. It does come with the hardware and the peephole, which we'll be installing over here. So let's go put everything under the hood. You have 3 hoses. You got the 2 on the side and 1 underneath, same as the OEM. So no modifications to any hoses are required. Let me put this up there. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by removing this nut. And from what I remember, that looks like either an 8 or a 9. I don't think that is quite a 10. All right, so I was correct. It is an 8mm. Oop, I got that set up the wrong way. We'll go ahead and loosen that up. All right, got that loose. And get that all the way off. That is the only bolt that holds this in. Other than that, it is just clipped in over here like so. Brett's does come with another thing right here, which I'm gonna assume clips in maybe down here. But we'll get this out of the way and we'll see. Now this should just slide that way and pop off. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this with one hand. There we go. I was able to do it with one hand. And yeah, that just pops off and slides that way. That is ugly and gross, so we'll get rid of that. Now the thing with these plastics is they just look ugly, they get gross over time, and they always have the potential to crack and leak coolant on you from heating and expansion and whatnot. Don't get me wrong, metal and aluminum does too, but it's way less likely that this will leak before this leaks. So something to keep in mind, and like I said, you might not ever have an issue with this. So this is more for aesthetics looks, because right, we have everything in the engine bay looking good, and we just have this ugly big thing here. So this will take up a little less room, and I think look way better in the long run. I'm assuming it holds about the same amount of coolant. If not, oh well. I did buy another coolant jug that's sitting in the garage, just in case I can't save what's in here. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unclip both of these, and I'm gonna try to drain into like a little cup or a bucket what's in the coolant reservoir, so I can try to mitigate having a mess. I don't want coolant all in my engine bay, and I don't want all over the ground for environmental reasons, and just I don't want to make a mess. So we're gonna start by doing that. Let me see. And guys, I really need to clean my garage. I've been crazy busy with projects and you know, making LEDs and whatnot, and so I just kind of have shit everywhere. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. So here we go. Let's see if that'll come off in. There we go. Kind of tough one-handed, but we got it. That looked loose, like it'll come off. All right, so let me get these off camera so I'm not like flashing y'all everywhere and shaking y'all everywhere. One thing which I think is really neat, that Ford actually reinforced these with metal. You see this little metal nipple inside, so those are probably less likely to snap off over time from heat and whatnot. That was kind of one of my concerns, but really couldn't see with the hoses on. So that's pretty neat that Ford would do that. We're gonna pop this little tab off over here. Might need to go get a flathead screwdriver to get this off. Oh, there you go, came off. So now we just have the one bottom connection hose. And again, I'm basically gonna try to dump this into a cup over here to try to get what is out of the reservoir and into a cup again, so I don't make a mess. That way I can remove this bottom hose clamp and go straight into installing this one over here. All right, so I just had this cup I use for resin for when I do carbon fiber projects laying around. I was able to get a majority of the coolant. There is still a little bit in there. I'm gonna try to get the rest of it out, but that's pretty full. So we're gonna set that off to the side. A little bit did backflow and kind of trickle down, so I'll end up rinsing all this off so I don't have just coolant laying everywhere in here. Push this one a little bit further up here. We're gonna reach that clamp. Again, I got what is out of there. There's a little bit in that pocket there, but there's really none right here. So we're gonna go ahead and disconnect the bottom one and then start setting this one up a little bit bigger. There we go. So here we have our sight glass. If it'll focus, come on. There you go, you can do it. You can do it, phone. There we go. We got our sight glass. We will be tightening it down. Not really sure the torque specs, but I'm sure if you just make it tight, everything will be good. All right, so that ended up being a 13/16. Was able to tighten it down. Again, not too tight. You don't want to break anything or whatnot. So pretty tight, hand tight. Should be good for that. It does have a little seal on it. Okay, so after looking at this being in place with the hoses on, so I gotta get those clamps on. We are gonna have to undo this 8mm right down here because that's where this new extended one is going to end up fitting and screwing into. I did spill a little bit more coolant than I would have liked to, which is a little upsetting. This is just a breather port, so you could either just add on a hose and route it down to wherever if it overflows or overheats, it'll start leaking out of there. So yeah, let's go ahead and undo that 8mm right there. Running into an issue with the coolant reservoir. When I put the bottom hose on, this sits on top of here, all kinked up, as where this comes in. When I try to push it down into its spot, just kinks up sitting on this bracket here. Now I'm 95% sure Brett's doesn't come with a bracket there, so you end up deleting that anyways. So what I'm probably gonna do is I'm just gonna end up cutting that off, getting rid of that bracket, so the coolant reservoir works with this pipe. Look at that, my fucking little intake pipe was popping off. So yeah, so what we're gonna do is just cut that off, get rid of that bracket, so we can fit this coolant reservoir correctly. Even more good news is you just unbolt it and it actually just clips on. Like it literally hugs that pipe and just clips on, so you don't have to cut nothing. So that's wonderful, guys. Literally clips off. I didn't even need a flathead screwdriver or nothing. I just lifted up with my finger on that one side and it popped off real nice and easy. So now we can get to installing this coolant reservoir, and this bottom hose shouldn't be getting pinched up on anything now. For those worried, if you still have a stock charge pipe, that shouldn't go anywhere. Sometimes engineers over-engineer things. If you look at all the aftermarket charge pipes on the cold side, they don't come with that bracket. So not necessary. And again, I will be upgrading it sometime soon. I don't know when. It is on my list of things to do. I don't know why I'm holding off, but it'll probably be my next things after I show y'all what I have going on in here. And if you follow me on TikTok, on my lives, you've probably seen what I have in there for the Explorer. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and install this. Oh, and a little tech tip here that I'm doing is, so what I'm doing is I'm actually pinching this open so I can slide it on easier, and then use this to lift it up and set it in place. And I'll show you what I mean. All right, so I'm using this to go open, and you notice I'm not opening it all the way, because if you open it too much, this will actually lock. And these things are hard to unlock sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. I've hurt my finger on them, and whatnot. And if you've ever done any kind of your own work and you've worked with these fucking style clamps, they suck major donkey dick. Sorry for any kids in here listening to that, but they're not fun to fuck with. So basically you do it right here, right before it locks, so it's nice and loose. That way you can go ahead and slide that on, and then you just put it in place and undo the vice grips, and everything falls into place. Makes it way easier, guys, than sitting there trying to hold it with a pair of pliers open while trying to squeeze that on there. All right, guys, so this is proving to be a pain in the ass. Do not put this one on yet, because we have to get this bolt in there, but you can see that it sits right underneath this nipple, so you cannot no longer fit a socket on it. Oh, and I dropped it. It's right there. I'm gonna have to get my magnetic tool. Luckily I have a ratcheting wrench, but still it is hard to get it at least started. So I'm gonna fuck with this for a little bit, and I'll be back once I get that on. We do have the other one kind of just loose in here. That way we can still move the coolant reservoir back and forth until we get this other one in place. All right, guys, so I'm not gonna lie, you gotta be really good with your fingers to get that in there. So I had to pull this way, and I was pulling that way. I was able to slip my fingers under there and kind of start turning that. And then from there, my ratcheting wrench took over in this tight spot right here. So you're kind of messing with your fingers, because I didn't feel like taking out my whole intake, whatnot. So you can get it in if you're pretty decent with what you're doing. But yeah, guys, as y'all can see, this takes up considerably less room. We are going to top it off with coolant. I'm not going to reuse that stuff because I poured that into a dirty cup, which I do my resin and whatnot in, so I don't want anything going in here that could potentially clog up the system. So I got some new coolant. We're going to fill it up. There is your little peep window. You know, you got all the baffling in there. This thing is super nice, guys, and like I said, I love that it's sleek and takes up less room, and it's less suspecting. You know, like you pop the hood, it just matches everything, you know, the black and whatnot, and it looks way better than this big old plastic hunk of junk, in my opinion. But again, like I said, this will last you years to come. Don't think you have to do this upgrade. This is definitely not a necessary upgrade, but I wanted to do it because I don't really care for these big old plastic junks. This is the only aftermarket option as far as like a metal coolant tank for the Explorer ST at the moment. And you're supporting a small business because Brett does everything out of his garage, which is pretty cool. You know, that's how I do my LEDs and all that, so I love supporting little businesses like that. Plus, his products are top notch. You know, his welds are just absolutely beautiful. I mean, I don't know how to weld, but I know I could definitely not ever do that in my lifetime, probably if I even try to start welding. So anyway, like I said, looks super good. We're going to fill it up with coolant, and then we will end up putting on the billet cap, which is going to slide over this. So we're gonna have to end up pressing these together very gently, because you don't want to damage the billet. So what I might do is go over to my vise and use a towel and kind of just gently push on both sides here to get it to kind of pop in. That way you have this awesome ST. Now let's put this on and see kind of like the direction that it'll go. There we go. So you'd want the ST facing this way, in my opinion. You can get these colored. I liked the billet look of them. I just like billet parts. So yeah, it's pretty sick, guys. This is a neat little mod for sure. Again, this is just going to be a overflow port. You don't have to plug it, and you don't have to put a hose on it if you don't want to. That is literally like if the system heats up and needs to vent some coolant or vent some steam or pressure, it comes out there. So you just leave it open, don't plug it. Again, it's not going to start spewing out coolant when the system pressures up. That will keep it at pressure, so you're good. You know, that's what this whole thing does. And like I said, that just relieves excess pressure or coolant when it overflows. It's a coolant overflow. So all right, so we were able to pressure all that on, which is nice. And now to fill with coolant. I don't think these things cost much. I don't remember when I bought it, but I remember it not being too expensive. Again, I could be lying to you, I could be wrong. We are going to rinse that out because it is dirty. It's been sitting in the garage. The basic principle is make sure I don't get nothing in my coolant reservoir. That's going to be, I think, too big. Yep. Looks like it'll probably end up being this one. That one looks about right. So it comes with a bunch of different little fittings. You find the one that fits like that. That one fits. Doesn't have to be very tight. And then basically you put the funnel on, you fill it with coolant, and you lift up and leave this in the lock position up. It'll start burping when the car's running, and basically reverberate it all. I'll show you how it works. Really neat. Let me rinse this out. All right, so I got my coolant here. I'm sure most of y'all know this. I don't feel like I have to tell y'all this, but I'm going to tell y'all this. Please, for the love of God, do not put water in your cooling system unless you have like a straight up solution where you have to dilute it. But even then, dilute it outside of the car. Don't just straight up pour water into your car, because then you end up with leaks and or it rusts on the inside, and you don't want to do that to these new beautiful cars. So don't be cheap, pick up some coolant. There's different grades of coolant. I prefer the Peak brand. I wouldn't even say it's the most expensive brand, but it is a good brand in my opinion. This is just for all vehicles. It's the green stuff, you know, what our car uses. So we're gonna go ahead and pour into here. You can hear it just eating up all that and all the bubbles coming out. All right, keep going. Because like I said, we did have some coming out of that hose. That's why I'm going to go ahead and burp it. Make sure that we don't leave any air bubbles in the system. This might be overkill. You might not even have to burp the system with it having this coolant overflow reservoir, but we're just going to do it to be safe. Because again, if you have air pockets in your cooling system, it can cause overheating and whatnot. And we definitely don't want our new car overheating. So you can see this thing's actually taking quite a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and go slow, let it keep burping down. I don't want to fill too much in here. Right above that line again. Burp down in there. Might be running. There we go. Now we're getting to it, and we're just gonna fill it right there. Right above that line. Again, I don't want to put too much in there. You can fill it up as much as you want because it's easy to transfer the fluid. So the way this works is, like, say you have excess fluid in here, you just put this down, plug it, lift it up, and then you could pour the rest back in here. So now we are going to start the car up. Oh, it won't do it because the hood's up. So okay, so let's throw a little hissy fit. So we're just gonna get in here. Thought I would do it by the remote, but no. These dang newer cars. And again, we're just gonna let it run. Let it run for a good 5-10 minutes or so. You'll see it start to burp. Kind of let all the bubbles come out. And then until you just see no more bubbles coming out, you know that there's no more, you know, coolant pockets in here. Squeeze these hoses, help it maybe, and you see it burping. Squeeze these coolant hoses, try to help it. I'm just reaching under there and squeezing that coolant hose. And like I said, this might honestly be overkill for the setup. It's just a coolant reservoir. All right, guys, it's been about 10 minutes. I've just been letting the car sit here and idle. We are getting no more bubbles or anything from the coolant system. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it is burped and bled. We'll come over here and we will turn it off. And again, what you're gonna do is you're just gonna put this down in place like that. Make sure it's down. And you're gonna pick up, some's gonna come out of the coolant overflow because again, this thing fills it all the way up to the brim. Just gently pull this off. I need both hands. Let's see if I can do this without making a huge mess. Again, keep that down. Boom. Again, all your coolant stays in here because of this plug. And then you're just gonna open up your container. Let me see if I can do this with one hand, so I can get you to rest like that. There we go. Dang, I'm getting good at doing this. All right. Let let that all drain back into the coolant. And there you go. Again, there is the part number 2. Comes, like I said, I bought it for the Prelude and the Focus because I've done coolant mods on those. Ended up working out on this too, so now we're just gonna undo this. Put this back in here. It comes with all sorts of fittings, elbows, I mean, you name it, guys. This thing fits almost any car. Again, OEM Tools 87043. Pretty neat to have. Again, I use it for multiple cars, so cool stuff, cool stuff. Put that on, and voila. There we go, that's nice and locked in. We'll get our rag here, kind of clean up. Water spots and whatnot. Guys, this thing looks awesome. All right. But anyway, guys, not too bad of an install. Just please pay attention to my video. Again, use the vice grips to hold that one open. Put that on. Do not put this one on until you get that screw in there, because it makes it a little bit easier with this whole hose out of the way. This is nice and warmed up. Yeah, guys, pretty straightforward install. And again, gets rid of this big old hunk of junk. And then if you have the OEM charge pipe, just take that off. Not necessary. This charge pipe isn't going to go anywhere without that. So you can actually see where that bracket would have been an issue. Again, it was sitting and pinching that, so we didn't want it to pinch it, so did that. Anyway, guys, trash truck's coming. I got some trash to throw away, so please like, share, and subscribe, guys. I love each and every one of y'all. We have reached over 2,200 subscribers, which is just insane how I keep growing, because to me, I'm just, you know, a normal guy that just does this, and I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm not partnered with anybody. I just do these stuff because I love modding vehicles. Like, so don't think I'm doing this to force sales to any kind of direction, because I'm really not, but this is my true passion, if y'all can't tell. Anyway, guys, thank you.